very, very angry. That's what I discovered. Because as a concerned parent, of which I think everybody should be, is something that should worry us, is something that we should take action on. Not just that it worries us and then we keep quiet and do the usual Nigerian way of like, what can we do? No, I did that at the initial stage. When I saw it, I was very upset. What's this? The over sexualization of our children. I got this pamphlet from my son. He actually screamed, ah! So I was like, what's that? What? I panicked, which is, I think, every mother out there, every parent will do the same. To hear your son reading and then suddenly scream, ah! So I rushed out, went to him, and at first I had to check him physically to be sure that he was okay because I couldn't fathom why he just suddenly screamed. And then he was trying to hide a book. I looked at the book, I took it from him, looked at the book, the same pamphlet that I had earlier released to him to read because he brought that pamphlet home from the party park he brought from school. One of his friends in school celebrated his or her birthday. I'm not sure whether it's a male or female kid. And then he got this party pack. Of course, like the rule in my house, you don't open any party pack until you're home. And then I will do the opening or their dad. So I happened to be home. I opened the pack. I saw this little leaflet among other things, that they usually in kids party packs. I looked at the leaflet. It's something. It went in the lines of unforgiveness. Yes, consequences. I think of unforgiveness. I was like, that's a good one. Take. I said, oh yeah, that's a good one. You should learn. So you learn how to forgive. That is very important and necessary. As a parent, you welcome any material that will help you do your job better. So I didn't read it. That was my mistake, and I accept that it was my mistake. But I just read the title, and it seemed so harmless, and something I want my kid to read. So I gave it to him. Not up to a few minutes, he screamed, and that was what got my attention. Like, why are you screaming? What's happening? I didn't even know it was the book he was reading that made him scream that way. So I took that book from him. I took it from him and I opened it because I'm like, why are you screaming? What's the reason? His eyes were his eyes were, you need to have seen my son's eyes. They were darting to and fro. Like, like he couldn't believe what he just saw or so I took the book and I started reading it. Lo and behold, the story is about a little girl who was being violated sexually by her own father. I had to pause and tell him, okay, you're okay. He said, okay, fine. You run along now. I will just, mommy will read the book and I will explain the book to you, okay? So next time you won't get to scream. And you're like, no, mommy, it's not the book. Okay, quiet. So I went. I had to sit down to read the story. Firstly, I couldn't understand why you put such a story and say it's for kids. I mean, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-olds should start learning about incest. I know that this world has gone cuckoo. A lot of evil is happening. But I think as a parent, I should be the one to explain these things to my child. It's not for you to go write a book and say it's for kids, a book that 6-year-olds can read. Because I remember my 6-year-old son also came home with a similar book a week, I think, or a few days before that day. And I was like, oh, yeah, take this book. Sometimes it's a coloring book. It's just about 4 pages. A little, like all the square little leaflets they bring home. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's nice. And he colored everything in I don't know, 20 minutes. It was done. Okay, so I had to pick it up. And I read and I continued with the story. Please, I'm really sorry, but the story is not fit for a child to read. The summary is the father was violating the daughter, the little girl, and she kept complaining, but he wasn't listening. And eventually, she got pregnant for him. They started doing abortion. In the course of the whole violation, she did up to between four, I think, 4 to 6 abortions for her father. And that was not all. Eventually, people got to know, of course, like our usual Nigerian way. They reprimanded the man, they shouted at him, and that was the end of it. Took the girl away. Thank God for that. Took the girl away, but the girl grew up in resentment. She grew up in unforgiveness. She grew up in hurt. She grew up in pain, as is expected of somebody who's gone through something that's traumatic. Okay, and then she grew up. She went to university, and then I think she had a boyfriend who wanted to marry her, but she insisted that the guy should not go see her father because, of course, those issues were still unresolved. And they made her look like she was a wicked person for not forgiving her father. And I'm like, no, she's not a wicked person. You just need to find a way to reach her heart, to this heart that has been so mad and bastardized and destroyed, you know. You need to find a way to reach that heart so she can begin to forgive and mend and then outgrow it. You know what I mean? Outgrow, not physically, but emotionally. Anyway, she didn't forgive her father, and then she got pregnant for her boyfriend. She still insisted that there was no need, that she had already cut all ties with the man. There was no need for them to go pay her bride price to her father. And because of that, they kept going back and forth about it. They couldn't do what they were supposed to do. Eventually, it was time for her to put to bed. She fell into labor, and then she died. So I had to sit down for like 5 minutes. I was trying to reason into my head, how does this help an 8-year-old child? For that matter, how does this help a 6-year-old child? Because those pamphlets you bring in, my eldest son is going to read it. He's 6, he reads very well. He's going to read. How does this story? I don't get. I remember when we were kids, the kind of stories used to tell us is how one grandmother, how they tell us that you should go to the bush, and then when you go to the bush, you saw two pots or 3 pots, and then you pick one, there's lots and lots of money in it, and then the other one, the snake that will be between something in that line. How did we migrate or evolve from those kind of stories that actually had moral lessons that made sense to this ones where we are beginning to over sexualize our kids? Hello, I'm in Nigeria, I'm not in America, and I make no apologies about that. It's a choice. If you want to send your kids abroad to go learn all those things that they want to learn, that is acceptable there, that's fine. That's your choice. Especially looking at our education sector in Nigeria, I don't blame anybody for doing that. But the last time I checked was still in Nigeria. And in Nigeria, we have laws, we have customs, we have traditions, and we are supposedly a religious people. I'm a Christian woman. I'm bringing my child up with my Christian values. You didn't ask me to be pregnant. I didn't take permission from you to be pregnant. I didn't ask you to raise my child for me. Why will you then think, for whatever reason, that you have the right to bring that to my child? This is on the heels of just a few days back, we're reading about condoms in primary school textbooks. Please, what happened to our what do you call them? Ministry of Education? Are they dead? Or is it just to declare holidays and that's all, their job is done? You don't go through these books that these children are reading? Who are these people? So you want to give an example in a child's book. The example, you didn't see bottles. Hey God, you did not see chair to say 2 tables plus 2 tables, we give you 4, or 5 chairs plus 5 chairs. You didn't see those ones. It's condoms. Okay, so now as a parent, you're giving me the job to go and explain to my child what condom is, right? I don't get it. And we are keeping quiet because what? The Ministry of Education impregnated you. They gave you the mandate to give them children that they can over sexualize and teach lewd hogwash to, lewd content that is despicable. Even as an adult, when you are told certain things, your ears will still sing. They will cringe. You will cringe inside, and that is what you are comfortable being given to your kids. I am not. And I don't care whose ox is God. Ministry of Education, you better wake up to your responsibility. I thought there was this other ministry. Is it ministry or what do you call those things? This parastatal and National Education Research Development Commission or something council or something like that. Are you not supposed to watch all these books? Are you not supposed to proofread it? Are you not supposed to know what content is going into schools? Look at all the rubbish that is going on in our schools. Who is in charge? Is it social media? Is it just random people? Do we actually have a government that is running our education system? Please. Nobody should try me. Nobody should try me. I don't want any funny thing in my children's textbooks. The other day, it was how the snake was disappearing and appearing and then turning into a dwarf that is going to bend down and start worshipping the samurai or something. And I was like, all these stories that they put in these children's books, what are the moral lessons? The idea, I think, I'm not an educator, but I'm a parent. And it's my right to decide what I want my children to know at certain ages. After all, it was not a contract. You didn't ask me to give birth to children, so you don't have any rights to come and impose whatever it is that you have in your own brain on my children. These are my children. I decide what I want them to know. So please, all these social media madness, let it end in your house. Let it end in your house. All these new ideologies that you guys are all bringing about, please keep it. If I like it, I'll accept it. You can't force it down my throat. Neither will I allow anybody force it down my children's throats. It's time for us as Christians to rise up. It's time for us as Nigerians to rise up and say, hello, there should be limits. There should be limits. There should be limits, for God's sake.